a point about what is JavaScript. Which is used for handling interactions with HTML. We can use clients. JavaScript in client side HTML with HTML. So technically, to manipulate to manipulate DOM to manipulate DOM. What is DOM? Document object model, right? So actually HTML and JavaScript manipulates DOM. HTML presents the document model, and it means HTML presents button and JavaScript makes the button function, right? Text box, checkbox, radios. So what are DOM elements? In the beginning of HTML, we discussed about the DOM hierarchy. So this is the JavaScript DOM, document object model. So I given you in the introduction of HTML itself, we learned about it. I given you this diagram also. JavaScript. The first technical point is to manipulate these DOM elements, right? To manipulate the DOM elements. So, and also important, validations and handling interactions. So JavaScript is used for client-side validation. So validations means when user enters the value, verify whether the value is according to the requirement or not. Also, like printing, like verifying the browser version, checking whether plugins are present or not, all such client-side interaction script is used for this purpose. So technically, JavaScript is used with server-side technologies also, which uses JavaScript server-side. In database also we use, but we are now learning JavaScript with HTML. But we are in Node.js, you will learn Node.js, but whatever JavaScript they need, that is enough with this knowledge, right? Then you can say that yes, because what JavaScript we are learning, here we will learn the language also. That's the reason it will fit for everyone. In HTML, its role is this: it is used for DOM manipulations, and it is used for client-side validations and interactions. So what are these? How they are used? We will. What we are going to learn is how JavaScript is used with HTML, how JavaScript is integrated with HTML. Actually, that is the general question many times comes. Many times comes. Many times comes. Technically, what is a scripting language? Scripting language is capable of executing without being compiled. So that means there are they need not to be compiled completely. I told you that that is the reason it is not just an ordinary language anymore. It can be used for it can be used for uh, if anyone asks what is scripting language, that means scripting language doesn't require the compilation here. So they just use interpretation. Right? So generally other programming languages need to be compiled before running. But scripting language generally interpreted programs, they are directly converted into understandable of browser or certain operating system. So line by line deleted if necessary, it will compile. So for that we have several other options. So that means we can use as with compilers also we can use JavaScript. Scripting language is a language which doesn't need any compilation. That is why it is called a script. Many examples like JavaScript. That means technically a scripting language doesn't require doesn't require so they they use interpreter, or simply you can say they are. So that is the main point. So what is the concept of scripting language, right? So that is the main concept why it is called as a scripting language. What language? That's it. Now, first important thing you need to know is we are learning JavaScript standards. Standards. JavaScript follows ECMA standards, and the latest version of JavaScript is which is being used in various means worldwide. So regularly being used in all technologies, right? Or actually, right? Those are the versions actually. JavaScript versions are known as ES. Already I told you yesterday. So many versions are released. So many versions are released. So the first release of JavaScript is and it is in 1997. Then the versions, we have so many versions. ECMA 2. So ECMA 2, that is in 1999, right? And ECMA 4, right? So that is in never released. Because it has some technical issues, so which were technically solved in the next release. And ECMA script the technical issues that it faced with its release of Ajax references. So a concept is there, Ajax, later you will learn about that. Upgrade that ECMA script 4. That's the reason, so never release. And ECMA script 5 came immediately. Immediately 5.1 came. ECMA script 5 came in 2009, and immediately after 5 the 5.1 came. 5.1 came, and it is in 2011, right? So many improvements are happening in every version. Then ECMA script versions started giving the year numbers. So that means still in short we will tell about that. Then after that ECMA script version 2016. After that ECMA version 2007. Then 2018, and which are referred as so ES5, ES6, ES7, and ES8. That means these are referred as ES7, and this is referred as ES8. That is the latest release, last version available. So is uh, is always called as European Computer Manufacturer. That means ECMA is always called as ES. Short, in short, we call it as. So ES we are using now actually, right? The version of ES we are using is which version of JavaScript we are learning is. So the version of JavaScript we are learning is about ES5 and 7 and ES8 are not yet being there used everywhere, and they have several people who are dealing with technically who are dealing with server side technologies and databases, especially in JavaScript. For those people, some new support has been introduced in ES7. That's the reason the ES7 and ES8 are the last releases available, but we are still working with the ES5 and ES6 because some improvements made in 7 and 8 which are not related to client side, that is related to database, that usually database and server side technologies will teach when you are learning them, when you are learning Node.js, when you are learning is helpful there, right? Because they are related to that. Otherwise, rest of all options are same. Now you are learning the last latest are actually still using ES5 only. ES5 only. So we will learn ES6 and ES6 related features, right? So foolishly don't ask, sir, will you teach ES2, 3, 4, 5 also? Because I think you understand what do you mean by also. So the point is whatever the latest features and old features extended to it, we are learning. But one of the main problem, the major issues with the JavaScript, the main problems, drawbacks. The main drawbacks of JavaScript. JavaScript, it is not strictly typed, strongly typed. Strictly typed and strongly strictly typed and strongly typed. Strictly typed means even if a developer is not following the coding standards and he is writing the code, JavaScript allows that. So you have to forcibly tell the developer that no, you have to write in this way on that. That means not strictly typed means it will allow developers to use their own techniques which are functional. which can work. Example, we want to use a variable. Without declaring a variable, you should not use variable. But JavaScript allows to directly use variable. So write in a correct strict mode so that it will follow the standards. So this is one technical issue, right? In a variable, if I stored a number in a variable, what is variable and all I will tell you. When I store a number in the same location, I can store a cannot restrict the users. User can store anything. That means any value can be stored. That's why it is not strongly typed, not strictly typed, and not strongly typed. Another point is, so JavaScript have browser compatibility issues. JavaScript have browser compatibility issues. Already HTML is also having. That means it will not run on a compiler for translator for JavaScript parser. I already told you when we learned HTML, I told you that even HTML also have browser compatibility issues. So change your JavaScript according to browser. We need to write for every browser. So browser compatibility issues are there. So actually JavaScript is runs in client browser. Anything that runs on client browser, then what happens is anybody can handle so that means whatever being done client side, we can see that. That's the reason we need additional security implementations to handle complex data. It is running on browser. Generally, first question comes is why we need JavaScript in web technologies. To reduce burden on server. That means actually JavaScript is used to manipulate HTML. JavaScript is used to handle client-side interactions and validations. In web technologies, if validations and interactions, it increases, then it increases burden on server, increases reduce burden on server, to reduce burden on server. The main intention of using JavaScript is to reduce burden on server. Compatibility issues are there. It is not secured. Another point is JavaScript can be disabled. it can be blocked in browser. If JavaScript is blocked in browser, it is blocked in browser. That means obviously if JavaScript is blocked in browser, that means how to know whether JavaScript is blocked or not, how to block, this all we will see, we will discuss about that. But important is JavaScript can be disabled. If JavaScript is disabled, all you and browser compatibility related issues we have to handle explicitly. Now use use a library, and that library is jQuery. Better use a library. Compatibility issues to reduce the lengthy logic that we need to write in JavaScript. That you will learn later in jQuery point, I will tell you. That's the reason the solution for jQuery now AngularJS, React.js, Angular, Vue.js, people are using that. What are those problems in jQuery and all we will learn when problems in JavaScript. Right? Technically, what are the major issues in JavaScript? So these are basic points about dealing with JavaScript with HTML. The first important point is why JavaScript is used with HTML. You can explain now. That means 80% of your answer is completed. That means interviewer will be satisfied with that. And if he additionally asks, then you can say it read. So that's the reason we have to handle validations client side. We have to handle interactions client side. But we cannot simply depend on client side because client side script can be disabled. Due to that, what happens? After understanding this, the first point we need to know in how do we know JavaScript enabled or not? How do we know JavaScript enabled or browser? That is the first point. Actually, to know whether JavaScript enabled or not in a browser, you can use HTML element noScript. So noScript is a HTML element that verifies whether that. Let's see. So if you want to know whether JavaScript is enabled or not in the browser, then we have to use an element called noScript. I will open our project. Yeah, here let's keep a new folder. Yeah, that is JavaScript. Fine. In that JavaScript folder, I'm okay. Now in this home.html, so we are adding some options here, right? Who if you tell that, we will remove him permanently. We blocked him. No problem. Tomorrow our admin will once more check the unknown people in our class, and he will block them permanently. Right, in the sessions. If anybody is trying, right, to misuse the sessions na, and permanently, right, no problem, right? You just let me know, we will block them permanently, right? Right, so here doc type html head, some title, some demo, and in the body section is enabled on my browser or not. JavaScript is enabled on my browser, because without knowing that, if I start writing JavaScript and using JavaScript, then obviously I cannot expect the same JavaScript enabled or not. By using, so you can use the element no script. So you just write no script and you put a message, right? Please on your browser, please enable JavaScript on your browser, right? Please enable JavaScript on your browser. We have to just define that. This message will be displayed only when JavaScript is not available, right? You can have other contents in your page. Suppose I have a heading. We are defining a message. Please enable JavaScript on your browser, right? Now I will save this. I will run this page. JavaScript is working in the browser. If JavaScript is working in the browser, that means it is fine. So JavaScript is working in the browser. The message will be displayed only when JavaScript is not working in the browser. How? Let's disable JavaScript. To disable JavaScript, you can go to Chrome. This is Chrome settings. You can search for JavaScript. You can search for JavaScript. So when I search for JavaScript, you can see you will find sites option is there, JavaScript allowed. Click on that and JavaScript allowed. Here we can block it. JavaScript blocked. Disabled. Then immediately this message will come. Please enable JavaScript on your browser. Now many times this question they have given a facility to block JavaScript means JavaScript having some technical problems. Means what are those problems? Option saying block. That means they are saying that you can block JavaScript. Why to block JavaScript? Because security issues also will come. One of the main problem is JavaScript is well utilized by Trojans actually. Trojan means in your device broadcast your information to others. It will broadcast your information to others. That means if that software is running, then your information can be viewed by script only they send information to others. That is a threat. That is not good. For example, just like suppose you see in your mobile, when you are options, when OTP comes, generally you observe some applications read OTP automatically and they will type. They will not ask you to type. You may think that it is that is the biggest security problem. If you allow like that, that means you are allowing some XYZ application to read your OTPs and use them. That's security wise not good. You have to disable. Like for example, I think many of technical issue. The point is they can read. They can read before you type. That's not good actually. That is dangerous on that. That's the reason. So we have to, and they all depend on client side scripts only. That is the reason many times we need to disable client side script to avoid such issues. Block, you know, na, there is a block sites option. You can add websites and you can type the site name. Only from that site, JavaScript will be blocked. So if your JavaScript is enabled, that means allowed, and refresh, that message will not come. So no script is a message, no script is an element. JavaScript is enabled, then it will not show any message. If JavaScript disabled, then immediately whatever the message kept inside that no script, it means first point how to know whether JavaScript enabled or not. Okay. Next point is how to a client side script, a client, you can say JavaScript, how to integrate JavaScript into HTML page. JavaScript into HTML page. No need to explain this also because already you know, just like CSS. The point is, what is the answer for this is JavaScript can be used in HTML page, A inline, B embedded, and integrate JavaScript into HTML page. JavaScript can be integrated into HTML page. It can be integrated into HTML page in 3 techniques. We can use inline. To explain what these 3 are, already you know, you learnt about them in CSS. I told you inline, embedded, and external file. What is meant by inline? In this method, JavaScript functions are written for every element. In this method, JavaScript functions are written for every element individually. So they are written. Use the functions. Reusability issues will come. Advantage is it is faster, but reusability issues will come. Just like CSS, we can write styles inline, we can write styles embedded, we can write styles in external file. Similarly, JavaScript also can be written inline, it can be written embedded, it can be written external file. So we'll see. Inline means the JavaScript functions are written for every element individually. So what is the problem in that is you cannot reuse the methods, reuse the functions. Right? If you want for only for specific element to work, we don't want any reusability, then we can write inline. How? Remember, functions and all why I am writing like functions and all, don't worry, that's you are going to learn. You need to concentrate on what is meant by inline technique, that's it. Using a button, so just testing JavaScript. Okay, here I'm adding a button. Now this is a button. On print page button, I need to invoke printer and print the page. Then directly I can write JavaScript for this element. On You can directly write your JavaScript inside that element. What is on click, what is window.print, that you will learn later, don't worry. That is not element we can write like this. That means on click, that means when button is clicked, it will handle this functionality. Now I will save this. I will refresh the. That is fine. That means it is working for printer options, right? That means the key point here, is this use. Suppose I want to reuse that functionality to others also. That means on another button click also, I want the same print functionality. If there is a big logic which we have to handle regularly, then writing inline is not correct always. It will not help always. But for small functionalities, if we don't in inline technique, JavaScript functions are written. JavaScript functions are written directly inside the element, directly inside. This is a small example of how we can write inside the element, directly how we can configure. If I want to reuse, then what we can do is we can use embedded method. In this method, the JavaScript functions are defined within. You can access and reuse the functions to actually the concept of how we can use embedded. Just like CSS, already we learned styles. Only the point is, in embedded in the head section, we write a script. This script will have a function printing, and this function will use window.print. And on click, we call the printing function. That means wherever I need to print, I can just call this printing function from any location. It can add some more functionalities. We can extend. Not only reusability, extensibility also there. So that's not the concept I told you. So script is an element. And in the script element, I already told you, if you remembered, while learning CSS, we can keep in head section, we can keep in body section. What I explained. The same rule for this JavaScript also. But how to write the script element, there are some more points I will tell you. But initially, this is written within the page by using a script element. And when you write within the page by using script element, we can access and use from any location. Within the page. Then we can go with embedded technique. So we have other points you need to understand. So the MIME type about script, the strict mode about the script, legacy browsers script, technical points are there while writing that we need to understand. And another point is how to write in external files and how to use them. Then we can start working with more examples on JavaScript that we will see tomorrow, right? In tomorrow's session, we will work with some more basics. Then we can start working with examples on JavaScript, right? Tomorrow we'll continue with that.